But again, it's their prerogative, what they want to spend their money on. The real challenge here is a giant game of bait and switch. The City of Calgary was approached by an organization, a Crown corporation called P3 Canada, which has an excellent chair, who happens to be in the room, 2 years ago, and told our entire mandate as a merit-based Crown corporation is to find innovative ways of doing public-private partnerships. And we think it would be really interesting to be able to determine if we can use a P3 model to build non-traditional kinds of infrastructure, things beyond roads and bridges. So over the course of 2 years, the City of Calgary worked hand in glove with P3 Canada to develop this proposal for recreation centres. We spent about $3 million of taxpayers' money on consultants, financial modeling, lawyers, getting this proposal exactly right, with encouragement from P3 Canada along the way. P3 Canada earlier this year unanimously approved this particular use of money. We created the Community Investment Fund in order to pay off the remainder from the city's own pocket. And last Thursday, I received a 3-line letter saying, we will not be funding this. No explanation. To this day, I haven't heard one word from a single member of Parliament who serves the City of Calgary. I have read what they've said in the media, though none have given the courtesy of calling City Hall yet. And what they have been saying in the media is that P3 Canada never had the authorization to spend that money, that P3 Canada was never intended to fund recreation centres, despite the fact that the documents that set up P3 Canada tabled in Parliament explicitly said that they could fund recreation centres. Next part's funny. Those documents were highlighted on P3 Canada's website until I did a press conference on Thursday. We went to the website live at the press conference. At the end of the press conference, that paragraph had been removed. It had been removed so quickly that the top of the page still says, and it still said this morning, that there are 16 categories of funding, but there's only 15 things listed. And changing a website is one thing, but last time I checked, changing a website does not change the nature of documents tabled in Parliament. So Calgarians deserve a better explanation from our federal representatives on just what happened there. And in addition, if this really was a communications error between the Cabinet and their supposedly arm's-length merit-based Crown corporation, then I need to understand why Calgarian taxpayers should be on the hook for $3 million for a communications error at the level of the federal government. $3 million may not be a lot to the federal government, but that's $3 million of our recreation budget. That's $3 million that we're not spending helping low-income kids take swimming lessons. It's $3 million we're not spending refurbishing aging ice rinks across this city. And so we are owed not only an explanation, but I will very happily take a check for $3 million. 3.1 to be exact. We'll get these rec centres built. They're very badly needed. People in those neighbourhoods in Calgary have been waiting almost 10 years for these rec centres. The kids for whom the rec centres were originally envisioned are now in junior high school. And we're going to get those built before they're in university. We have to do it. And we will find a way to do it. The project may not be what we dreamed of. The project may not be what we've planned for, but we will, in fact, get those things built and continue to deliver services that the people of Calgary need so very, very badly. What else have we been doing on building better communities? Well, we have been investing significantly in all levels of community infrastructure, from the arts and culture to sports and recreation, to all the things that make people happy to live in a neighbourhood, that make people happy to live in a city. I've said before on this podium and in other places, and I'll say again, that the kinds of investments we make that increase people's quality of life are not only great investments for themselves, they're very strong and powerful economic development tools. Because we as a city need to be able to continue to attract the very best talent from around the world to come and live here, to work here, to invest here, to start businesses and to grow businesses here. And one thing we know beyond the shadow of a doubt is that people in this world of increasingly borderless capital and borderless talent, people are attracted to invest in a place because of the quality of life that that place offers. It has to be a great place to live in order for it to be a great place to invest. And that is something that we will continue to work on. The other big thing we did this year in terms of building better communities, I'm pleased to say, is that we reduced the taxpayer burden significantly by cutting in half the subsidies that we pay for suburban growth on the outskirts of the city. That sounds like a very technical thing, but what it really means is that as we grow going forward, there are now financial incentives in place to build more sustainable suburbs and also to put redevelopment of existing neighborhoods on more of an even level playing field with new suburban development. That is a massive change. The City of Calgary has never undertaken a philosophy like that before, and that is really going to show up in the city we start to build as we move forward. We're keeping Calgary moving. We invested, as my colleague at the head table knows very, very well, on the airport trail completion project. So we will, in fact, we have in fact secured a crucial east-west link for cars, goods, and transit across the top of the city that will be something that future generations will absolutely thank us for. Speaking of the Calgary International Airport, I'm thrilled that we have been able to launch direct bus routes to the airport. Can you imagine there were never direct bus routes to the airport? From McKnight West Wind Station at the end of the Northeast Line for commuters, as well as from downtown for travelers. Both have succeeded beyond wildest expectations, huge ridership, huge ability to do that. Of course, we removed the $3 park and ride fee from the C-Train and BRT stations. It's the right thing to do. We've launched a new customer advisory group in Calgary Transit, and we made a bold, bold step into the 1970s by making sure that the C-Train machines give change. In addition to giving change, they also take credit and debit, and we have massively improved communication between Calgary Transit and its customers. We continue to invest in road projects, smart road projects that improve the issue of congestion across the city. And most important, we're transforming government. Now I want to spend a couple of minutes on that. Earlier this year, as the beginning of a long process that you'll see a lot more on called transforming government, open brackets. I'm a private sector guy, even though I came from the university. But you know, I'm used to dealing with different kinds of bureaucracies. But let me tell you one thing. Since I was elected, I have been talking about this process of transforming municipal government and how important it is for us to transform municipal government. And the folks in our communications department at the city just hated it, and they said it just doesn't work. And we had interminable meetings and focus groups with employees to discuss what are we actually going to call this program. Transforming municipal government just doesn't work. And then we came up with, after all these meetings and focus groups, transforming government. It's much better. And you're going to be seeing a lot more of that as we go forward. I'm going to tell you about a couple of initiatives under that umbrella. One was the Cut Red Tape initiative. Let me tell you about Cut Red Tape. Last February, I launched this program to city employees only with a grand total budget of $0. We printed a few posters and put them up at the proverbial and literal water coolers around the city. And we put a little video of me that was shot on an iPhone by Darcy over there on the city's internal website. And I had a big plan. And my big plan was to go out to employees and say, listen, give us ideas of how we can cut red tape, how we can be more effective in serving our customers. And I thought we would get 8, 9, 10 ideas. And out of those handful of ideas, I would pick 3 or 4, and I would make those people heroes. Right? Talk about how great they were, start to get the virus into the system about how changing how we do things and being more effective is the right way to go. What ended up happening is we got well over 200 ideas in less than a 2-week period. And my plan changed from making 3 people heroes to figure out how to take this teensy bit of non-existent money and stretch it out over 200 ideas to implement them. But it's really working. From simple things like making sure that more people at every swimming pool are trained on signing you up for future classes so that parents can sign their kids up for swimming lessons while they're waiting for their kids at their swimming lessons. They were never able to before. To ensuring that our systems around development and building approvals are much faster. It's really worked well. The best example of this, of course, that many of you have heard of, in fact, there's one parked right downstairs right now, is the food trucks initiative. A lot of people said to me, you know, the only reason you're interested in food trucks is because you like food. True. Or that you like super trendy things. Also true. But the real reason behind the Food Trucks Initiative was to prove a point. We had entrepreneurs come to us in early July and say, we've got this great idea, this food truck movement is moving across the country, how can we get food trucks rolling really quickly? And I thought to myself, what a great opportunity to bring together people from all these different departments, create a brand new licensing regimen for a business that we've never really had before, and move quickly. And I thought to myself, my only regret is I wish they had come to me in March instead of July. Because if they had come to me in March, I bet that we could have gotten all this sorted out and have them rolling by this summer. What actually happened is people came together in early July. We quickly realized there were three things you needed to do. You needed to pass a health inspection, you needed to pass a fire inspection, and if you were going to park on a public street, you had to pay the meter, the Park Plus, sorry. That was it. So 20 days after the first meeting, we had 9 brand new businesses rolling on the streets of Calgary. And if you've seen the lineups at the food trucks, you'll know that they can be an hour long at lunchtime. So we were able to match entrepreneurs with a great idea that needed very little capital with a market that was absolutely dying for this by getting government out of the way, by getting us to streamline the processes and being able to move forward to make that happen. So I'm thrilled about that. On budget, we instituted a brand new collaborative system. The reason the budget debate last week was so dull and continues to be so dull, and the poor media had to focus on, oh, are they getting along? Do they like each other? Instead of the content of what we were debating, was precisely because instead of the old system where we would spring a budget on you and give you 10 days to respond, we started in January by talking to the public. And over 24,000 Calgarians participated in one way or another in the process of creating this budget. And I think that that was pretty exciting. Zero-based budget reviews are starting, have started already, and in fact are starting in earnest starting next year.